is cheesy. The plot is stupid. I'm sorry, the plot is bad.
That's a little opening. Do, 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 do. Do, 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 do.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to what will almost certainly be the funniest edition of ARG of all the times.
Ha 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 ha.
I'm legendary funny man, Amigo Aaron, joined by the crown prince of clown. It's the Brent.
Do, do,
You know, wait a minute. Hold on a second. We've got to get more fired up. Now, admittedly, the first time we did funny games, we hit a few potholes, but I'm going to get myself fired back up. I guarantee this is going to be the best episode of ARG you ever saw, right?
do, do.
That's right.
Do,
Because this week, we once again spun the wheel, and that wacky wheel, well, it did a number on us, and we're once again taking a look at some funny games. Now,
oh boy.
yeah,
I think you're overselling the episode already, Aaron.
listen to me. It's nonstop chuckles. Now, before we get into our games proper,
Yeah.
let's have a little tiptoe down the line here because I wanted to ask you. I thought about something this week. And my game comes into this, but I was thinking about when you look for a game or play a game that's, first of all, do you look for funny games?
No, I hate funny games. I've told you this a million times.
Okay. Secondly, now you like comedies in your films, right?
Absolutely.
Right. So, what are some of your all-time favorite comedic films that you love?
I love slapstick.
Right.
Right? Good slapstick. Your airplanes.
Yeah.
Your nice visual gag. Brain Donors is one of my all-time favorite movies. In the top 5.
Naked Gun.
In the top 5.
Yeah.
And Naked, well, some of them are better than others.
The first one
is great.
Awesome.
And the second one's pretty good.
The third one's better than the second one.
It is. It is.
You know,
some of it.
Come on, that Oscar ceremony is pretty good. So you know what you like in movies. So let's pretend for example, had to play funny games.
Yep.
It's funny how that could possibly come up in your life.
Battle chess all day.
But when you this time around, after you did a horrible job last time,
yeah.
What did you look over the landscape to see what was interesting that would appeal to you like a film would, or did you just grab one?
No, I went, oh my God, I can't believe we're doing this again.
Yeah, because
Aaron, I hate you. I hate you. I hate you.
You put it on the wheel.
No, Aaron. No, I
somebody put it on it.
And then I was like, I've got to pick a game that I can at least tolerate because I know I'm going to hate whatever Aaron picks.
Yeah, well, wait a minute, because the last time I picked a pretty funny one. So when I took a different stance this time. I thought to myself, okay, funny games, because humor is very personal.
It's subjective.
Right. Some people, like me and you, they like stuff like Airplane or Top Secret, real oddball, goofy stuff.
Yeah.
Some people like a more a more down to earth comedy,
like romantic comedy,
right? Or like something like a Ghostbusters. So that's more mainstream.
I'm cool with Ghostbusters.
Yeah. So I like Mel Brooks. So
absolutely.
Now, are you going to translate that into that sort of humor, like my sort of humor, into a video game?
Yeah.
Well, no, you sort of can. For example, like we both like slapstick stuff. Three Stooges, that's got plenty of humor in it, where you're smacking the other Stooges around, stuff like that. I think that's a pretty amusing game.
I would not call that a lot of what
that's
they do
exactly what slapstick is. You're slapping a guy and you're sticking his fingers in his eye.
That's physical humor.
Well, that's part of it. But I also struggled again this week. But
you can also go to the absurd,
right?
Like your Birdemics. Or your Room.
Yeah, but do you want to play a game based on any of that? Well,
apparently you did.
So I thought to myself, listen, I'm going to have a good time. And I remembered. I know.
Wow, you failed.
Well, I know. In fact, I'm going to use this. I'll go ahead and lead the dance, I guess. I'm going to roll in there.
Okay.
So,
we're skipping a whole scene.
Hold on, I'm not done yet. So I thought to myself, here's what I'm going to do. I remembered the last time that we did games, that we did FMV games, there was a whole ton of these things I'd never heard of. I was like, man, there's so many of these I've never heard of. And I thought to myself, and I had a good time playing these. I'm going to pick a funny FMV game. So I went over to get A Fork in the Tail.
All right.
And I tried, but I can't stand Rob Schneider. I just can't. I can't.
Well, that was probably a poor choice of games. Then.
I can't. But I mean, I knew it was. That's the only one I knew for sure was funny. So I thought to myself, I want to play an FMV game. What are the funny ones? You know? And nothing really popped up. And so I just started looking at FMV games, see if I could find one that was amusing. Because they're all sort of funny in their own way.
Yeah,
You know?
yeah.
Because they're so dopey. And lo, I couldn't believe my luck. Because all of a sudden one came up I've never heard of. And get this, Brent, the game is made by freaking Capcom.
Yeah.
It's Capcom.
Yep. Yeah.
And I thought to myself, Capcom has never made a mistake, especially a cinematic one, in the history of their company. So surely they were going to put together some solid gold. But I thought, is this a comedy game? And so I watched like a trailer thing for it, and I wasn't sure. But I thought, screw it, I'm going to do it anyway. So this week, everybody, for my funny game, I picked the hilarious Fox Hunt. Now you can play this on the PlayStation. I played it on Windows 9. Here's another funny thing. I chose to play this on Windows 3.1.
Well,
but I did it. I played it, and we're going to talk about it. So this right here, Brent.
this episode's going to be like 20 minutes long.
Yeah. Oh no, I got a lot to say about
Oh no.
Fox Hunt, again, it's a FMV game, and it's made by our good friends at Capcom and developed by a couple crews, 3 Vision Gamers and Evolutionary Publishing. This game was released for Windows in February of '96. And by the way, this was a 311 game, so despite the fact that Windows 95 been out, it runs in 311. It also came out.
Not that any of that
came out for the PlayStation in October of '96. So a few months later on the play, you had to wait with anticipation, sweet anticipation. The developers, 3 Vision Gamers, they only had one other game, and this also was a high contender once I read the name. It's National Lampoon's Blind Date. So that should fill you with confidence. Evolutionary Publishing worked on the PC version of Johnny Mnemonic, a movie that I hated, and the book that I wasn't that fond of. And I love that guy's book, but that wasn't my favorite.
Great pinball machine, though.
Yeah, but I don't like the movie. So let's talk about this crazy game, Fox Hunt. Of course, it's a CD-ROM, one-player game. We're going to get into the people. So again, you got
3 discs.
4, I believe. 4 discs.
4 discs? I thought it was 3. You might be right.
So we're gonna, since this is a movie, you got to sort of go over this like it's a film. Okay, so the producer of this was Adam Burns. He produced Girl Next Door, The Blind Date Game, and a show I'd love to see, Baseball's Dirtiest Tricks. That sounds great. The writer, we had a writer-producer, Matt Piken. Listen to this. By the way, you're going to be stunned at some of the things these people did. So Matt Piken, he wrote like the majority of Mr. Robot, Rush, Monarch, Empire. Remember that show Castle? He wrote on that, NCIS. And so that right there tells you and he also worked on the Knight Rider reboot. So he worked on a lot of real stuff that got made.
Yeah.
All right. Keep that in mind. The writer / director / designer, Michael, this is the triple. Michael Burns worked on Queer as Folk, John Doe, Greek Invasion. So a lot of different stuff. The main actor in this was Jack Fremont, was played by Andrew Bowen. This guy is the legendary voice of Johnny Cage. So if you ever wonder, what the guy that does Johnny Cage's voice looks like, he looks like this geek. That's what he looks like. He was in 25 episodes of Mad TV and a bunch of other crap. A lot of these guys are hardworking actors. Lisa Gilroy in the movie is played by Rabia Lamorte. Just get this. She was on 90210. She played a reoccurring character in Buffy. She was in a show called Vindication. She did tons of stuff. Frank in this was Timothy Bottoms. This guy was in the Last Picture Show, Paper Chase, like real award-winning films. He was in the 80s Twilight Zone. He's did tons of stuff. Now, here's the one I love. Chauncey in this was played by George Lazenby. Do you know who that is?
Mm-mm.
Well, George Lazenby was a James Bond after Sean Connery retired. He did one movie on Her Majesty's Secret Service. And much like the guy that played Flash Gordon, like this was like his first big role. And then like his agent was like, yeah, tell these guys like to screw off. You're gonna act like a jerk on set. And he did. And so he never came back. But that's his bit. He's been in everything. here's the thing that surprised me about George Lazenby. He was in 7 Emmanuel movies. Do you know what Emmanuel is? They're these super sensual, sexy European flicks. I
Okay.
don't know what he was doing in those. Also, famously, was in Master Ninja 2. If you're a Mr. Science Theater fan, he's been in tons. And then to round out the cast, the Wolf was played by Louis Arquette, who was in the very first episode of Miss Columbo. If you watch that show, and then the Fox was Don Morrow, who get this the biography, the TV show, the narrator of that. So you had a lot of people. Oh, I should mention Rob Lowe makes an appearance in this. Rob Lowe's been, believe it or not, Rob Lowe is in this. He's been in tons of stuff, St. Elmo's Fire, Wayne's World, etc., etc. So, what is this full motion game? Well, the plot is kind of hard to explain. In fact, I'm not sure I 100% understand it.
Oh, I understand the plot.
The plot of the movie is
Game.
game. Well, it's both.
Game, but we're reviewing the game.
So the plot of the game is that Russia had a cunning plan. They were going to subvert. This is the Soviet Union, Russia. Okay, they were going to subvert America by making these lowbrow TV shows. All right.
Well, it's okay.
The lower brow, the better. And like they were going to use these TV shows to like turn us on to the Soviet state of mind. Right. The problem is, and it worked because we all became dumb idiots. Right. But the problem is, these shows were so popular that they started importing them back to Russia. And I swear to you, in the actual dossier of the guy that made these, it says these actually were responsible for bringing down the wall. So this guy's TV shows ended communism accidentally. Anyway, he was mad.
No, keep going.
I'm just telling you. So this producer is mad because he never got any credit in all these shows, and so he's threatening to wipe out L.A. With a cache of hidden Soviet nuclear weapons. And so that they got to stop him. The CIA's got to stop him. Well, how do they stop him? They find the biggest TV dork they can. And the biggest TV dork is the guy you played, Jack Fremont. He sits around his house watching these horrible shows. Like it shows early on what a master of horrible show trivia he is. He's a king dog. I don't know how this comes into play, if I'm honest. It really does.
It does. It does. Believe it or not.
That's the plot. And then we'll get to most stuff that happens later on. How do you play this game? Well,
oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
This game is actually, the technology in the game is pretty impressive to me. You control, it's sort of like a Dragon's Lair that, in Dragon's Lair, the scene ends. And then you move on to another scene.
Mm-hmm.
Picture the scene just not ending. For example,
trust me, it felt like they weren't ending.
If Dirk, let's say Dirk's in a cave, instead of pushing Dirk to the right to jump the bridge, pretend you can just look around the cave. That's what this guy does. Like you start off in his apartment and you just mosey around the room, looking at stuff. You're going to learn right away that Jack Fremont is sort of like if you ever had a human version of Dirk the Daring, this guy is like a weird sound. He makes weird sounds. He makes weird facial expressions. Listen, he's not as good as Dirk the Daring. Don't get me wrong.
Okay.
But you know how Dirk would be like? He'd be like,
yeah.
This guy does all that stuff.
He does.
You know how Dirk would look dumb? This guy looks dumb all the time. As dumb as you can look. So when you're playing this, you can use the mouse. I use the mouse. You can use the keyboard, joystick, whatever you use. And the little arrows will pop up on the screen in some scenes that tell you where you can go. In his apartment is a table, and the table's got stuff on it. So you can walk up to the table by hitting the forward arrow, and then you can move your cursor on a table. Some stuff has a big X on it. That means you don't touch that.
Can't touch that, right?
But anything else you can click on, and maybe he'll pick up a piece of mail.
He'll interact with it,
or he'll get his wallet or stuff like that. The whole time you're doing this stuff, the character you're playing is being as stupid and idiotic as possible. Like this guy never stops acting dumb, nonstop.
It's like Brain Donors, but if he sucks,
it's not that. Yeah, it's not like that. So once you wander around for a while in this scene, eventually this big fat guy comes crashing through your window, and you're supposed to fight this guy right now. In the PC version of this, I know I saw the PlayStation version, a little light a little thing will pop up to tell you direction to move, to try to dodge, and then there's a button to attack.
To do the attack.
Much like Dragon's Lair. The PC version, when I played it, it never had any indicators like that. So you noticed that too? And so basically, you sort of kind of guess basically what you're doing. It makes this difficult. It's like the fact I kicked my brains in at the beginning of this thing. So that's how that part of the game works. There'll be parts of the game where you're literally just using the prompts on the screen to move your guy. Now, you've got to admit, it's pretty seamless as you move around. I was very
This
impressed.
part,
Yeah.
this part was.
It was. I was real impressed with it. I really almost the whole thing is pretty seamless when it comes to
Well,
that.
I have a question.
Yeah.
How far did you play and or watch of this?
I played to the point where I got past where you fight the showgirls.
Okay, you
All right.
made it. You physically made it much, much, much farther
Well,
than
that's not
I
that.
did.
I think it's the second disc.
Oh, that's exactly.
I
Now, how much?
watched the whole thing.
Okay.
And then I went back and I also watched the feature film, which I'll get to. Let me finish this up. So as you run through this mission, you're perpetually caught in long conversations where you don't do anything. You just watch the flick. George Lazenby plays sort of like your attaché for the CIA, and he'll come around occasionally and say some stuff, and he'll be dressed sort of in different outfits. And there's all kinds of mentions of like Bond stuff in this. They're sort of like, eventually you become sort of like the lowest in Bond.
Yeah.
00 suck.
No, well, I mean, yes.
But there's also a lot of attempts at humor. So here's the thing. When I picked this game, I didn't know that it was funny. Okay. I just looked at the trailer and I thought it was one of those movies that's so bad it's good, that kind of thing. So I thought it'd be funny in an ironic way. But it's not funny in that way or any way. I mean, it's dopey. It's a dopey game. I didn't hate it. I said there were parts I did laugh at. But I mean, it's got a lot of like low end humor. For example, if you think it's funny to see a bunch of Russians in drag and they're all big burly men and they're coming to get you, if that's funny to you, you'll enjoy some of that. Like I thought that was funny. If you like fighting the sexy showgirls in a dumb way, and then after you beat their brains out, you kiss them. If you're okay with that, you'll enjoy this because this is when the thing was made.
Well, you're really narrowing down the audience there.
Now, I want to talk about the more interactive gaming parts of this thing. So, eventually, you're going to make your way to a hospital, and I can't explain this, but George Lazenby's character gives you these rocket-powered engines.
Skis.
Well, whatever they are, and I don't know why he gives them to you in the hospital in California.
He even mentions that. That's supposed to be part of the joke.
Well, it's not that funny, but for whatever reason, your guy basically tricks a man into getting out of his wheelchair. And I will say that was pretty funny. He lays his hands on this guy and says, "You're healed," and the guy stands up and he takes a couple steps and just falls on his face, and the guy steals his wheelchair, and he puts these engines on it, and you're zooming through the hospital halls in this chair. This is the first like
action
mini game or whatever. I don't know what you'd call this, but what you're doing, it reminds me a lot of the Amiga Dragon Slayer 2 where you're running through the maze and you're hitting left and right, and if you do it, it just keeps going, and this keeps going. And so you're on like the third floor. So theoretically, you're supposed to get in the elevator twice, go down to the first floor, and then shoot and then fly out the front door. But you have to make split-second determinations of which way to go. Again, there are no prompts on the Windows version, and so
apparently there aren't on the Pajaka says there aren't on the PS1 versions either.
So what you end up doing is you end up picking these halls. And I will say it's pretty seamless. It's real seamless when you make these things.
The transitions are good.
I made it down 2 elevators in that, and then I got killed. I had to start all the way over, which because apparently you can't save until in between the discs, which is real irritating.
No.
Well, that's what I was saving. I didn't because I couldn't save. I didn't even try to save at first. I didn't know you could. On the PlayStation, I know that's how it is. So finally, I got down to this. Took forever, by the way. This wheelchair thing.
It's a very long.
Did you get past the wheelchair thing?
No. I didn't even get to it.
Yeah, well, I drove around forever.
Aaron, I bailed on this game so fast.
Yeah,
this is probably my least played time of a game to review.
Well, see, that's why you missed the nuances, the subtle nuances.
I was like, this is absolute garbage. But as a dedication to the show, I watched the complete playthrough.
Good.
Like 2 hours.
Yeah, well, Hold that thought. Let me finish up, and we'll get your thoughts. So anyway, this is the interactive, speedy part. There's a couple parts like this in the game where you're on like something, you're moving.
Uh-huh.
There's also a skiing part that's like this.
Yeah.
Anyway, you
And the final boss
Yeah, and
version is like it.
that thing is that where you get those there's no explanation as to what you get in at the end, but you're just gonna like missile or something. So I'm not gonna get into the plot of this. I don't want to ruin it, but I do want to talk a little bit about the production of it because some of this is astounding to me. So Fox Hunt was developed on a budget of $2 million.
Okay, go ahead.
I mean, that's actually not that much.
It's not, but okay.
All right.
Because some of these. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah. So when they made this movie, they had to shoot these scenes like 18 kabillion times. This thing was shot on 16mm film to improve the resolution, which, by the way, it looks not good. But I mean, what do you want? It's Windows 3.11. This thing was shot over 35 days, right? And they shot most of it at the Ambassador Hotel in L.A. And although they did shoot a few scenes in California or Colorado, Aspen, I love this comment. Wiki's got this comment from George Lazenby. He said he was talking about the shooting schedule. It only went 35 days. He said actors need to be a lot of flexibility since scenes are shot so quickly, and you instantly go from being good to being evil. On Bond, I once waited 3 days for the crew to get prepared to film a single scene. On Fox Hunt, we do a new scene every hour. It's the way movies should be made. It's just Lazenby saying that. I agree with you, Lazenby. So this thing had 2,200 camera setups, 20,000 edits, and they shot over 3 hours of live action, 735 shots, and 9 different endings. That's right. There are different endings. So, also get this.
I'm guessing that means 9 different game overs.
You're gonna love this. It gets even better here. So they also had a great soundtrack for this, and I noticed this when I was watching it. The soundtrack on this included the Violent Femmes, Butthole Surfers, Dick Dale, the Sugar Hill Gang, Faith No More, and the Poster Children. So like this actually, because these. I don't know how they had some kind of deal. Capcom had a deal with somebody, but they got all these like real artists to be in here.
I want to jump in real quick.
Go ahead, jump in.
Uncredited Weird Al Yankovic.
What did he have in there?
They played about a 4-second clip of "I Lost on Jeopardy."
Oh, okay, very good, good call there. They were also developing this for the Mac and the Saturn, and they never released them.
Yeah, good call.
They also talked about doing this for Sega CDs, so they didn't release any of this stuff.
Good call.
The Windows version allegedly sold 25,000 copies the first 6 months, and the PlayStation sold about the same. That's in the first year or so, but they're not 100% sure. Although the guy that made it said that not only did they actually spend way more than $2 million, like somewhere in the neighborhood of $5 million, he said like no one bought it. So there you go. Your mileage may vary on that. But here's the most amazing part of this whole thing. So we can admit. The game didn't do well. I'll go ahead and talk about the reviews for the game were brutal. It's got an average score of 43%. PC Joker, though, amazingly gave this thing 62%. So they must be kinder than the Amiga Joker. But this thing got creamed by everybody. The video game critic gave this a 0%.
I mean, it's not that bad. Well, I don't know. It's borderline unplayable.
Weekly reviewed this, by the way. 67%. They didn't hate it that much. So someone decided, hey, we've got some good footage here. And they love the actress that was in it. They're like, I think this would work as a film. So they went back and shot a bunch of new footage. And now I watched the film version of this. It's dramatically different. The first 15 minutes of it has Gary Coleman. Well, Gary Coleman's in it. They reshot and put Gary Coleman in it. The new footage had 900 additional edits, and they shot it and they packaged it for release. Now, I read conflicting reports on the release of Fox Hunt. Some people now there's I think it was Bajaka linked. There's a link to the high def the 4K version of this on YouTube right now. You can watch the whole thing if you want to. I urge you to do it. Now that's funny, but I read that they never ever got a distributor for this. I don't know if they ever released this as a film and made any money. I think somehow it got released by somebody. I don't know if it got bootlegged or whatever. But if you watch the movie, like they added tons of scenes, tons, but you can see the game scenes in there too. So they've got both. But yeah, Gary Coleman's like right up front, right at the very beginning of it. He's in it. But it's pretty much a lot different than the actual the video game. So Brent, what did you think of Fox Hunt by Capcom?
Well, I'm impressed, Aaron, that you managed to find a game that was less funny than Battle Chess.
Oh, come on, this had its moments.
No, it didn't.
You didn't watch
This,
them.
first of all, let's talk about the playing experience, which I can talk very little about because I was so frustrated that I gave up really early on.
Yeah.
It is incredibly frustrating to try to maneuver and get through the game with actually progressing. I mean, you can just fiddle around fine, but I couldn't get anything to work.
Trouble.
Oh my God.
I thought it was pretty seamless. Seamless. That's my word of the day.
But I do want to talk about the quality of, first of all, the humor.
Yeah.
This
is what I've been dreading.
This tries to be slapstick.
Yeah.
It fails. The jokes continuously fall flat.
Yeah.
And it was obviously it was not written with me in mind. I do not know,
thank God,
what form of slapstick this appeals to, what age demographic, what gender demographic. I have no idea, because I'm a huge fan of slapstick. I'm a huge fan of fast slapstick. Like I said, Brain Donors is one of my top 5 movies of all time.
Yeah.
This tries to be Brain Donors, okay?
Well,
it does. It does, because it tries to make everything a joke. Everything. You pick up your guy's hungry, you pick up a plate, he licks it, and he has a reaction like he ate, right?
Yeah.
That kind of none of it works. I didn't want to like this because I was already so ticked off by the time I watched the footage. But I went in, I watched the entire thing.
Yeah.
The game version, I did not watch the movie, the game version, the entire thing.
Yeah.
And I kept waiting for something that would at least make me smile to happen. It is so, it's not even lowbrow, right? But lowbrow, if you have a lot of fart jokes or that kind of thing, that's not my type of humor. But I can at least see who that's aimed towards. Who does this appeal to, Aaron? What age group? What gender? What nationality does it? You did not think this was funny.
It was this one. It was so stupid.
No.
Plus, when somebody tries too hard, like this is like that, but I mean, there are moments that made me laugh.
Birdemic tries hard,
yeah,
and it ends up being funny. The Room tries hard,
yeah,
and ends up being funny.
Yeah.
This tries hard and never gets over that line.
The difference is those two weren't supposed to be funny.
I understand that. Trust me, I understand that.
There's not much in the world worse than a non-funny comedy. I'll give you that.
This gets up to that line where if you took one more step, you might be able to get it to be ironically humorous.
Yeah.
And it doesn't make it. And that is the absolute kiss of death for comedy. No, they keep trying. They keep trying, and they go back to gags over and over again, and they're never funny. You know the rule of 3, if you do something 3 times, that's, first of all, it helps you remember things, but that's the kind of the kick in comedy-wise.
Yeah.
Never happens. They make choices for their character. The character starts off as this bumbling idiot, real nerd, set around, has all this television knowledge, and they morph him to be this slick super spy that learns how to do all this combat.
That much.
No, they do.
He's always a dork.
No, the end of the film, he's beating people up.
Well, yeah, but he's still pretty dorky.
And there's no there's no, and he's the reluctant hero. It follows the hero's journey. It follows that story narrative. I didn't want to, he's got to find all these discs, and the discs have the codes, and blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
It never reaches anywhere. It never gets over that ledge that it has to, and it makes it a painful, absolutely painful watch. I have never been more confused, more angry
Yeah.
than this has made me just watching it.
You're
And-
vindicating me right here.
And there are the segments, like the hospital wheelchair maze,
Yeah.
the skiing. Although the skiing wasn't nearly as bad as the end sequence. Holy cow!
It
They
stretches
go
out.
on forever.
Yeah. Yeah.
The end sequence,
They're very proud of their effects.
the end sequence where you're just basically choosing left or right
Yeah.
is like 15 minutes long.
Yeah.
I actually started fast forwarding. I watched everything else in its entirety, but I looked down at the timer and the thing had like 25 minutes left. I was like, oh my God, this has been going on for like 5 minutes already.
It's like the spaceship scene in Space Ace if it went on for an hour.
Oh my God.
It reminded me
So
of.
I was hitting the fast forward because on YouTube, you can, every little click is 5 seconds, right?
Yeah.
And I'm clicking. I get to the point where I'm holding down the key
Yeah.
and it's jumping 20, 30 seconds at a time.
Yes. You skipped it. I got it.
No,
I
you
got it.
have to live with
No,
this pain.
I don't have to live with nothing. I thought I was amused by it.
No, you
Listen,
were amused by that segment.
No, not that segment. No, but here's the thing. Okay, listen. They didn't do a good job.
No.
Okay, I'll give you that. However, it's in 2024. I can look upon this construct, this thing made by men, and I can look on it and I can smile. And I can be amused because they fail in every conceivable way.
They do.
Even the jokes where they have laser, they got a laser beam, the former James Bond, and they make the most obvious jokes. Like, I mean, any 2-bit hack.
You were never surprised.
When I read the stuff that these guys had done, I was like, how did they must have really been slumming.
Yeah.
But of course, you've got 35 days to shoot something you got to slap together. So it's uncharted ground. I will say, I think they did, technologically speaking, I think they did one of the best jobs I've seen in terms of smoothness of the thing.
For the most part, it's smooth.
Like when you're controlling the dork, and I will say, if you'd only played towards the beginning, it's more irritating there. It gets a little bit better than it was. At the beginning, this guy's a complete oaf. I mean, he's an oaf. And he's not, like, as a person to control, he's horrible. Like, you want to just have him get killed.
Yeah.
He's so bad.
Oh, I want him to die. That's for sure.
Better. There are some plot choices. One of my favorite bits is at the end, this Russian shoot at you. And your guy dodges the bullet, and he's like, I'm gone. And he gets ready to run off, and he looks, and his girlfriend's laying on the floor. She's been shot.
Yeah.
So later on, after he dispatches the Russian, she gets back in the room, and your girlfriend just wakes up. She's like, I'm fine. He goes, oh, you got me. It's like, what? Why would you fake that? What were you doing? There's a nonsensical plot about how she's the daughter of the Russian. It gets bizarre. So if you're watching this plot, maybe out of luck. We got a review on this, believe it or not.
I'm sorry. Who wrote the review? I bet it's Pajako, and I'm already going to apologize.
Pajako. He played this in the PlayStation 1. He says,
the load times are going to be atrocious.
He says, while it clearly has roots in Dragon's Lair, mixed with a dash of point-and-click action, there's too much guesswork and trial by error. For example, having to search obstacle locations multiple times to ensure you've collected everything. I know exactly what he's talking about. The table. Yeah. And it all boils down to ensuring you click through everything multiple times and hope that you have all the objects at the right time. I want to stop right there. There are parts of this game where you'll click something and he'll do something, and then you'll click something, he'll do something else, and you'll click over and over, and he'll do 4 or 5 things, and you haven't even moved your cursor. Pajako continues. In the adventure scenes, you have to rotate around the disc. The disc has to seek and find the applicable video sequence. There's a lot of loading video.
Oh my gosh!
Must have been excruciatingly slow on a real PS1. Again, I played this on the PC. I'd recommend that. Thankfully, you can save mostly at will, so you won't have to replace sections once you get past them. I eventually got stuck in a hospital wheelchair maze. You got fed up and seemingly going around in circles and not progressing. Yeah, that part sucks. I think if the game had all been point and click adventure rather than reaction based parts, it might have been a little more fun. But the reload time is a little too slow, and you really just want to get back into the action quickly in this sort of game. Sadly for me, your mileage may vary. As a funny game, this one struggles to be funny. A few parts are amusing, but not laugh out loud funny. I will give kudos to Timothy Bottoms as Frank the Hitman, who was by far the funniest thing in the whole game. I would agree with that.
Yes, that was a French guy, right?
Yeah, well, he had the beret.
Yeah.
But don't pass it off because I didn't get on with it. I would urge you to try it because it's interesting to see what the developers are trying to do. Just don't expect an entirely good gaming experience. 5 out of 10. So I think that's a
Jocko, you are the kindest man to ever review games.
what? No, I think
Has he ever given anything less than a 5? I think 5 is his 1.
No, I think that's a legit review of the game. I would also put this somewhere in the 5 or 6 range. Listen, I like FMV, I like schlock, and I did think parts of this were pretty amusing. Plus, I was not expecting to see such luminaries as Lazenby and Rob Lowe show up in a game like this. That really blew my mind. So if you like that sort of thing, if you want to have an amusing romp, I should mention the price of this. This is also amusing. So you can get this on Windows for under $50. Although I did see a complete inbox sealed Windows copy of this go for $100. However, if you're looking to get this on the PlayStation, you're going to pay big money. Now, I did see this. I mean, the prices for this are all over the map. I saw a complete inbox copy of this go for and this went for 2 Gs, $2,000. I also saw $100 and even $30 copies, depending on how complete they were and what was with them, and if they whether or not they were sealed. So you may pick this up cheap, but listen, I suggest that you should play this, but without even playing it, you should go buy it. That would be funny to me. Thank you. I end my segment there. What do you bring to the table this week, Britt?
Well, I felt like I needed to redeem myself.
You did, because your game sucked.
What?
Your old funny game, horrible. Battle
Well,
Chest,
I feel better about it now. Thank you, Aaron. I went with Poker Night 2.
All right.
Aaron, this, let's go deep in the weeds on Poker Night 2.
All right.
First of all, real quick, we'll talk about Telltale Games. This was released in 2013.
All right.
When Telltale Games was at their peak of popularity. Telltale Games, Aaron, is the company that did a lot of their story-based games. A lot like your type of game, like the game we just talked about, but good and entertaining and funny and impressive and
so
quality.
It is just like mine.
It's take a franchise, an established franchise, and they tell their own stories with it. They do the what is that horror game, Aaron?
The horror. Can you be a little more specific?
Anyway, they do games like Borderlands. They do games.
They do one of the zombie.
Yeah,
TV
that's the one I couldn't. Walking Dead.
Yeah.
There we go. And they take those and tell their own stories in their own style, and they're really fun.
You always heard this.
Batman's. They do a lot of Batman games. I always enjoyed them. And this Poker Night was at their peak, and the reason why they started the Poker Night series was they needed something to kind of fill the gap, kind of recharge the engine, the batteries for the people that work there, because it's a much easier game. It's more based off of dialogue and chill. They had the engine. They made the engine in Poker Night 1, and then they, of course, ported it over to Poker Night 2. And it was a good way to get newbies coming into the studio to learn some of their tools and fit them in. That was the whole reason why they did the Poker Night. The full name is Poker Night at the Inventory. The Inventory is just a club that all this takes place in. So Poker Night 2 came out in 2013 with a whole new crew, a whole new cast of people to play poker with, and that's what this is. This is literally you are sitting at a table and you're playing either Texas Hold'em or Omaha, and you're listening to the dialogue between the characters.
I got a question before you move on.
Yeah.
Who was in Poker Night 1?
Poker Night 1 was one of the guys from Penny Arcade. I'm gonna have to look it up because I don't know them all. I know one of the guys from Penny Arcade.
You mean the comic strip?
Yes.
Okay.
The Sinbad from the comic strip. It was. I wish you would have asked me this
Well, I just assumed
beforehand.
you would know. I didn't know you had to look it up.
You had the Heavy from Team Fortress 2,
All right.
and you had Max from Sam and Max.
Okay. So this one had a better cast than the first one. That's what
It was a more diverse cast.
Yeah.
Yeah. And part of the allure of this is it's a chill game of poker. You're just sitting down. The cast and crew this time is Brock Sampson from Venture Brothers.
couldn't believe it when I walked in. At the beginning, they have you walking into the club,
Yeah.
and you see Brock like pummel this guy, or like post pummeling. I was like,
Yeah.
holy crap, Brock Sampson, what's he doing in
Yeah.
here?
You've got Sam and Max. Sam is at the table this time. You've got Ash Williams from The Evil
I
Dead.
couldn't believe that either. I was stunned at that.
You've got Claptrap from Borderlands.
Yeah.
And you've got GLaDOS from the Portal games as the dealer, kind of the oversee of the table.
Yes, that is an eclectic crew right here.
And the way that they chose these people were very organic for the time that it happened.
Yeah.
Of course, they had to fill the roster, and Brock came on because they all liked Venture Brothers.
Yeah.
So they said, man, let's stab in the dark. Let's see if they're going to willing to work with us. And it was instant yes.
Yeah.
And of course, Brock Sampson is voiced by Patrick Warburton, who did come
done
to the
everyone.
game.
Yeah.
And the Tick, famous for the live action Tick series.
Seinfeld.
Oh yeah, he's done tons of stuff. I can't
He
even
played
list.
Putty on Seinfeld
Yeah.
if you watch Seinfeld.
And he actually came in to do the voice.
Oh yeah, you gotta get him.
For Sam and Max, it was voiced by David Nolan and David Boat.
Yeah.
Those are not the original voice actors, but I think they did a fine job.
I didn't know that. I thought they were. They did a good job.
Claptrap was voiced by David Eddings, also not the original person. GLaDOS was voiced by Ellen McLean, who was the original voice. She's awesome, by the way.
Yeah.
If you go and look at any of her footage, she's this older woman, and they run it through a like a digitizer to kind of robotic her voice.
Yeah.
But
that's the thing for Portal, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
And then we have the strangest choice, Ash Williams, not played by Bruce Campbell.
Really? I thought it was him. It sounds just like him.
Played by Danny Weber.
Wow.
Now,
He's
Aaron.
very good.
Now, Aaron, do you know who Danny Weber is?
I don't know who it is. Was he in my movie game?
Well, no.
Oh, okay.
But you know what he was in?
What?
Birdemic.
No kidding.
He was in Birdemic and Birdemic 2. In Birdemic, he was Rick. He was one of the main guys in that.
Oh my God. Well, I have to say I thought for sure that was actually Bruce Campbell.
Yeah.
I'm stunned to hear that.
And we'll actually get into a little more on that a little bit later, because that has some interesting twists and turns. But so you have this cast and crew, and you're playing poker, and the poker is
It's totally fine.
It's slow
Yeah.
because it's supposed to have the feel that you're sitting around a poker table and you're just playing poker with your buddies.
Yeah.
That's the feel that they were going for, and that's what it is. And because of that, if you go in wanting to play bam, bam, bet, I'm out, let's skip it, move on, you don't get that experience. You are at a poker table, you get your cards dealt to you every time. When you add chips to the pot, or one of your opponents adds chips to the pot, they actually physically have an animation of adding chips to the pot.
It's just like poker.
It is. It is poker with your buddies.
Yeah. They even tap on the table and stuff.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, they have all the hand motions. When a hand ends, GLaDOS usually has a little phrase that she comes in and says, referring to you as the player. The player is silent through the whole thing.
Yeah.
But you can, enjoy the conversations between the other people at the table.
And they're great.
Eh,
It's funny.
It is. So, real quick, let's talk about the poker aspect, right?
Yeah.
You can set different themes. You can unlock different themes for the tables
And
for that
the
base
belts, the
that are
cards.
based off the games that the people are in.
Yeah.
You can also change the bar, the makeup of the bar, the background.
Oh yeah. I never did that.
It again fits with the games, and it goes so far as like for Ash, it brings in the Necronomicon, and it plays a part in the game, not as you're physically playing, but when someone gets eliminated, the book actually goes and runs. It has that camera motion where
Oh,
it
neat.
flies around the room in that wacky style that it has,
Yeah.
and it hits someone and they're gone. So it has teen tons of style. It
Yeah.
really goes above and beyond for style, but none of that matters if the conversation isn't fun and interesting.
Yeah.
And it is.
It is.
The biggest drawback, and I want to get this out of the way so we don't have to talk about it anymore. GLaDOS, although she is super entertaining, she has so few voice lines that you hear them a lot. Like the end of the hand when she's criticizing the player for winning or for losing, or she's congratulating you for winning. Those clips get old. The rest of the conversations are based on who's still in the game. Because when someone gets eliminated, they physically get up and leave the table, so their conversations are no longer part. So if you have someone that you have conversations where everyone's there, and you have conversations where one person's missing, but the three are still there, or you can have one-on-one conversations, which those can happen even if all four people are at the table, or you have just you and the player at the table. You have conversations like that. So there's this wide hierarchy of conversations that can come to the table. So if you're in a situation where your end person is always Ash, right? You might start hearing more repeats than if you had a more diverse amount of opponents. However, the conversations in this are so good. They're so entertaining. They're not necessarily all funny. Some of them are just like you'd have conversations at a poker table. They're just watching the Venture Kids or going on adventures throughout Borderlands, collecting weapons. They talk about that kind of stuff that's kind of mundane. But for the most part, everyone has fun, interesting conversations, and they're really well animated. Aaron, what did you think of Poker Night 2?
Well, it's funny when we did the first funny games.
Yeah.
You mentioned the Poker Night game.
Yep, and I'm going to get into why I didn't play it in a second.
So that's the first one I ever heard of. And I remember when you talked about the concept, like, man, that's a weird concept, but I'd forgotten about it. I went back and played this. And I will say, as the different players showed up at the table, I was perpetually stunned. And then Ash is the last one. I was baffled. It was baffled that Ash was in this thing. And it's exactly what you said. You sit back and relax. Listen, this is exactly my speed of poker. I played this I probably played 4 hours of this while I was doing other stuff. I just had it on because you don't have to be in a hurry. And you can play it, and the conversations are real funny. I mean, really, I didn't get that much repeating, and I played for a good while. I know eventually you're going to get them,
Yeah,
but I wanted to get as much as I could. I guess is the bartender chick from
Moxie is from Borderlands.
And what about the guy that owns the club? Is he from anything? The guy in the sailor's outfit.
Shoot,
The
I cannot remember
guy?
his name. He's from Monkey Island.
Oh, okay. Oh, no kidding. So. But the atmosphere is great because you're in this club, and I found the poker in terms of the interface and stuff I loved it. I thought it was really
well,
good.
it's tough
It
to
gives you
screw
the
up poker.
percentages when you're going heads up. The other people react in a real funny way, No, and they'll give you the business, but no one's like particularly nasty. They sometimes they'll mock you or make fun if you're not talking. I was listening to Brock Sampson and Ash talk about kids.
Yeah.
And it was so funny. And the dog is funny. The dog is a good player, too. I thought he was the toughest guy to
Sam.
beat.
Yeah.
That stupid robot, Claptrap, he's always got some kind of crap going on. He'll do stuff like he'll forget stuff. Like he'll reformat himself, reboot himself.
Yep.
He does all this stupid crap, which I found amusing. But I mean, I love this. I loved it. I had to go. Here's the thing about this, and Brent mentioned that
No, I'm going to talk
oh,
about
you're
how
gonna
you
get
get it. Yes.
but once I got hold of a non-Russian version, I sat down. I played the Russian version for a couple of hours, but I was like, I want to get the English version of this. But eventually, I got to a point where they're like, "Listen," the Catholic guy's like, "Listen, this round, you're gonna play for an item."
Yeah.
And so I was like, I guess you collect all these items to do something.
That's the unlocks.
And so Brock brought this thing looked like a bowling ball up, and we played for it. And I ended up winning it, so I got it. I actually won some rounds of this. I lost plenty, but I won, and I learned that you really do have to pick your spots because I will say I thought the computer, in terms of a poker game, some of these guys are aggressive.
Yeah.
Like they'll go all in a lot. And so you've got to be ready to get out of that hand. Don't you've got and get a little lucky too. But also sometimes they'll even play hands they'll bluff. I mean, straight up bluff.
Yes.
And sometimes they'll tell you they were bluffing. So the engine they've got for the poker, I thought was real good.
Yeah.
And
in that regards, not to cut you off, but each 4 member at the table has their own way of playing poker. Claptrap and Sam are more reserved, while Brock and Ash are more aggressive. Also, you can buy drinks for them in the game, and that actually skews how they play a little bit. Not a ton, but a little bit.
Okay.
Usually makes them play more loose, take more chances. But go right ahead.
But I love the cast, and I've never played any of the Sam & Max games. I know about them. I've only had a cup of coffee at Borderlands, but I know about that guy. And of course, I used to watch Adventure Brothers, so I know about Brock. It was by far the best thing on that show, without a doubt. And so it was great. Like I said, the dialogue was real funny. Like Ash was funny. The dog was real funny.
Sam.
Yeah, and every time he won a hand, the bunny would come over and get his.
Max.
They had some interactions,
Yep.
And sometimes you'd see Max in the background doing wacky stuff,
Absolutely.
which was funny. So it was funny. It was enjoyable. And the poker was good. So I really like this one. It's definitely one I'm going to keep around because sometimes I just like to sit back and just play a leisurely game of cards. Like I play stuff on the phone or whatever, but I mean, it is sort of like being with some buddies.
Yes.
It's exactly like that. If your buddies were Brock Sampson, Ash, a robot and a dog.
Yeah, and as you unlock new scenarios and card backs and chips, if you select all of them from one game, it does change up the dialogue some. It adds some new stories, so you have things to work for in the game. Now, Aaron, this was, like I said, this released at a perfect time for Telltale because their first one, the main reason why it became so famous, allegedly, is it had unlocks for other games. Like if you played enough, you could get hats for Team Fortress 2.
Oh,
and that was a big deal. This was 2013. Well, that was even earlier. So this one had unlocks for Team Fortress. It had unlocks for Borderlands, and that was a big selling point. That was a way they were pushing the game. Did you know, Aaron, that this first released on Xbox Live Arcade?
No, I didn't know that.
And after that, it came to the PlayStation, and this was a big battle. This was a big deal that it didn't come to PC first because people were actually kind of ticked off about it because they wanted to get those unlocks and those stuff. And it was a little bit of a thing. But here's the craziest thing, Aaron. This also released on the iPhone.
Huh, I'll buy it.
And no, you won't. Because all of these ways of getting this game have since then been delisted.
I assume because they lost rights somewhere.
They did not renew the rights.
Yeah.
And so if you still own this on like Steam, like I do, you can still go and download it and play it, but you cannot purchase it. However, that's not true on the iOS. If you legally purchase this game, you have it on your phone, and if it's still installed, you can still play it. But if you ever uninstall it, you cannot get it back through official means.
Yeah.
Even though you purchased it, you do not have the right to go and download it.
That's some Apple action right there.
Also, when this was released, how much do you think this thing cost?
I don't know, $5, $10.
$5.
Yeah.
That's what it is. You can technically still get this on Steam if you have an old Steam key. How much do you think those are selling for?
Oh, I don't know.
$100.
Really? So people really want this?
$100.
Is that because it unlocks stuff still?
I think it is more just a rarity thing at this point.
Yeah.
But yes, if you still want this,
Don't pay that.
you can go. You can go to a key site and purchase it for $100. I just thought that was interesting.
Yeah.
This did exceptionally well for Telltale. This was one of their highest scaling games.
Really?
And some of that is going to come from the unlocks.
Yeah.
Some of that's going to come from the cheap price tag, $5.
Yeah.
Review wise, this was pretty middle of the road. It did sevens, pretty much across
Who
the
would not
board.
like this? I can't for life figure out why.
Well, it's coming out on the Xbox and the PlayStation, there were some issues. I think that kind of drove scores down a little bit. People were upset that you couldn't skip the dialogue.
The thing is, you can on the PC version. You can hit escape and skip right past it.
Well, no, the old game had you could turn some dialogue off.
Okay.
That was the other thing. The old game had difficulty levels, where this one doesn't. However, the old one, the difficulty levels didn't actually do anything. Like checking between medium, easy, and hard.
Yeah.
It didn't actually change how anyone played.
Okay.
But people are pissed off that it wasn't in the new version, even though technically it wasn't in the old version either. So the little things like that brought the scores down a little bit. I personally really enjoyed this game. I haven't unlocked everything, and I haven't played it for a long time before this. But it's a fun way to sit down, play a little bit of poker, and just kind of chill.
It'd be fun if you could have had like multiple people playing, like multiple humans. That would have made it, give it a little more replayability. It's funny how they do they are very clever because basically the table that you play on is automated, so it automatically deals the cards.
Yeah, that keeps it moving.
But I mean, I will say the interaction of the other people with their chips, anteing up, showing their cards. I mean, it shows got animations for all that stuff, but they're not always the same. I like that. I mean, I think this game's a big time winner. I really had a good time playing this one. And just for the record, if you head over to the Internet Archive, you probably can find it. I'm not gonna say you can't. I'm not gonna say it's there, but you can. I guarantee you,
yes,
it's there. It's unavailable. It's not like piracy, but it's unavailable. You know what I'm saying? That's the way I look at it. Also, piracy.
Aaron, I'll have to say, we definitely had one game this week that was good.
Fox Hunt.
And we had one game that was yours.
Hey, I'm sure we'll do better this time. We got all kinds of new pieces on here, everybody.
We have a lot of pain. A lot of pain, Aaron, that is on the wheel today.
All right, spin this sucker.
Are you ready?
Yeah, I'm ready. You said this is a minefield, I believe is what you said. Let's see if you're right. All right.
Oh, we've got the easiest thing on the wheel.
What do we got, the brand?
Thank you, blessed man. We've got dirty games.
Oh, my.
But games with dirt, Aaron.
Games with dirt.
Yes,
and
dirty games from Rob Flacco Hair.
Flacco Hair. Show the people the piece there so they know you're not lying. Dirty games.
We're past that, aren't we?
We've already played a bunch of games that had dirt in them, so I'm just saying. You know, I mean, like, we're, like, in the dirt. You know, we like oils well and stuff like that. So we'll have to find some interesting games. That'll be a lot of fun. There's plenty of games in that list. Now, that'll be in 2 weeks. Let's talk about next week, the Brent. We're coming back, and it's Coco show time. All right? Yeah. All right. And so I polled the community. They gave me their advisements, and we'll be playing a game called Star Wreck. Or I think it's Space Wreck. Excuse me. Space Wreck.
Wait a minute. That isn't the game you told me.
Here's the thing. When they make up these fake names for games, it can be confusing.
Yep. So, Poker Night. Who'd have thought of that?
So we'll be playing next week on the Coco show. It'll be a little round Space Wreck. It should be a lot of fun. Maybe. I haven't played this one, so I don't know. But that's going to be coming up. And then the week after that, we'll be back with Dirty Games. I also want to mention a little scheduling note for everyone. Normally, of course, we film every Sunday, 10 a.m. Next week, we're actually going to be moving to Friday night. So we'll be doing it this Friday. We're going to record Amigos and ARG or Coco show on the same night. And why is that, to Brent?
Because you want a weekend off and you're lazy?
That's true, but also because Brent will be filling in for Boat this week
Oh,
on Amigos. Boat is going to be out of town, and so Brent's going to fill the role. So if you're interested in checking Amigos this week, we'll be playing Kickstart 2. Won't that be fun? So it'll be Kickstart 2 and Space Wreck. It's a double
a
shot
double header
on Friday. That sounds
good
pretty
stuff.
good. Hey, before we go, well, a little mention. Last week we did me and you, we did our first next game.
Yeah.
On the
Sing
RC
Player Next.
Player, and we played Baggers in Space, and I was very pleased to see that the programmers sought us out and had some very kind things to say
They
about
did.
us.
They were very generous.
And kind of spread the word about it. So I appreciate that, and we do recommend giving Baggers in Space a go. That was a heck of a game. But it's always nice to hear from the programmer, especially people of that caliber, top shelf, top men, as they say.
Absolutely.
So that was an exciting event. You got anything else going on, Brett, that you want to talk about this week before we take this to the house?
Nope.
All right, there you go, everyone. We'll be back on Friday with a little bit of Space Wreck on the Coco Show. And until next time, we give you the find. Bye-bye.